Have you ever stopped to ask yourself if what you feel is love or simply the fear of not being chosen? Do you truly long to connect, or do you just need to feel seen so you won't disappear inside yourself? And what if what you call passion is nothing more than the muffled cry of the inner child who once learned to beg for affection? Almost no one truly wants to love. Almost everyone only wants to be loved. That phrase, in Carl Jung's light, is not just an observation, it is an exposure, a wound in the way most of us were conditioned to exist, as if our worth could only be revealed when an outside voice confirms it. You can call it love, you can call it desire or connection, but underneath there is an echo whispering, "See me, please choose me, validate me, prove I am someone." Perhaps you are tired of repeating stories, of begging for emotional crumbs, of losing yourself in the effort to be desired, tired of feeling that with every new, almost something, you walk away with less of yourself. And yet you continue like an addict, like someone who does not truly want love, but only another dose of illusion. This is not a comforting embrace. It is a dirty mirror, a descent that few dare to make. But if you've come this far, it's because part of you already knows. There is something wrong with the way you love, or rather, with the way you try not to disappear. Prepare yourself. We are about to open scars you swore were already healed. We will visit the forgotten childhood, the denied traumas, the fantasies you call romance. Here, love will be stripped of all poetry to reveal the addiction beneath. You say you want to love, but when you close your eyes, when no one is watching, do you truly want to love another? Or do you just want to be chosen, as if that would finally make you real? Most people do not love. They need to be loved. They are thirsty, but not for water. They are thirsty to be seen, to receive the gaze of someone silently saying, "You matter, I see you, I choose you." And that is not love. That is desperation. From childhood, we learn to put ourselves to the test, to smile, to please, to get good grades, to behave well, to apologize for existing too much. And deep inside, we record the following logic. If I am enough, I will be loved. If I am beautiful, intelligent, funny, useful, desirable, someone will choose me. And so broken adults are born. People who do not want a relationship, they want walking approval. People who do not seek love, they seek to feel that they are enough. And that, my dear, is an emotional addiction disguised as romance. Have you noticed how everything revolves around the other? You dress so they will notice you. You answer quickly so you won't be forgotten. You erase yourself, mold yourself, force yourself to fit into someone's desire. But it is never about the other. It is about the emptiness you feel inside. It is about silencing that voice that screams when you are alone. It is about taming pain with borrowed affection. Carl Jung taught that real love can only begin when we stop seeking to be loved and learn instead to love from our own wholeness. But how can you love if you are still trying to prove you deserve to exist? How can you love if you only know the sensation of being chosen as proof of worth? You think you need a relationship, but what you want is anesthesia. You want someone to rescue you from the inner chaos you refuse to face. And that is not love. That is escape. Do you remember the last time someone ignored you? That unanswered message, that sudden disappearance? Do you remember how it crushed you inside, as if your existence depended on the other's reply? That is not about them. It is about the fact you cannot hold yourself up without the crutch of validation. Culture does not help. We live in a society that romanticizes lack. Films, songs, social media, all selling the idea that true love is what completes us. But that is a trap, because if you need to be completed by someone, you are admitting you are incomplete. You do not love, you need to be chosen. And when you are, you feel that relief. For a few minutes, everything seems to make sense. The anxiety quiets, the body relaxes, the world appears more beautiful. But then it returns. It always returns. The emptiness, the doubt, the sense that everything can collapse with one absence, one silence, one shifted look. You live on the edge of collapse. You have built your worth on quicksand, and the mere wind of another can destroy you. True love cannot grow from that place, because love does not arise from urgency. It arises from presence, from your capacity to be whole, even when no one chooses you. Yet you are still trapped in the idea that loving is being chosen, and that prison is comfortable. It is painful, but familiar, suffocating, yet known. You already call it home. But what if I told you this is not a home? It is a cell, the unconscious repetition of an ancient wound. Your longing to be loved is the wounded child within you, trying to prove they deserve to exist. Let's go one step deeper. Let's listen to that child. Let's visit the root of the emptiness you try to fill with glances, with praise, with temporary presences. But for now, breathe, feel, and if you have the courage, write in the comments, "I do not need to be chosen to exist." That phrase may seem small, but for someone who has spent a lifetime begging for affection, it is the beginning of freedom. And now there is something you must understand. The most dangerous enemy is not outside. It lives in your mind. That impulse that makes you explode, that anxiety that paralyzes you, that emotional attachment that weakens you from within, all of it follows a pattern. And unless you restructure the mental model that creates it, the cycle will repeat endlessly. But there is a way to change that foundation with clear logic, strategic awareness, and deliberate emotional retraining. There is something in you that never grew, something still waiting for an embrace, for an "I see you" spoken through the eyes, for a stay that comes without conditions, for a "you are enough" that demands no effort, performance, or sacrifice. You may be 25, 40, 60 years old. You may have lived through 1,000 relationships. You may have children, achievements, even healed traumas. But that fragment, that small being inside you, is still waiting. It is not love it craves, but something more primal. Safety, belonging, a validation free of demands. You may have never stopped to notice how much you are still being guided by that child. That child does not speak. It cries in silence. It shows up when someone ignores you, when someone abandons you, when someone says, "No." Suddenly, you collapse, as if you were 5 again. You say you're fine, but inside, you are pleading, "Please choose me. Please stay. Please tell me I matter." And then comes the most painful question of all. When did you first learn you had to earn love? Was it when your cries were ignored? When you were told you were only good if you achieved? When affection arrived only as a reward for good behavior? Or perhaps when you realized that even though your parents were physically there, they were too far away to truly see you? You grew up trying to be acceptable. You learned to smile when you wanted to cry, to please when you wanted to scream, to become invisible so as not to disturb. And so you internalized a belief. If I'm not enough, I'll be left. And they did leave, didn't they? Maybe not physically, but emotionally. They were there, yet not truly there. They heard you, but didn't listen. They touched you, but didn't feel you. And so you grew with a hole, an emotional emptiness no presence could fill. You became an adult, yet emotionally remained an orphan. And that orphan still lives within you, trying to buy love, with effort, with care, with sacrifice, as if at some point in the past, someone had taught you, be useful and maybe someone will stay. Carl Jung, though not using the term inner child, described with uncanny precision how the experience of separation is one of the deepest human wounds. Where does it begin? In childhood, in that moment when the infant realizes the breast may not come, that the arms may not hold, that touch may not be safe. When that happens, an invisible wound is formed, a silent fracture that grows and infiltrates all future relationships. And that wound shapes everything. How you love, how you give, how you protect yourself. You think you're in love with someone, but in reality, you're begging that person to fill the void your parents left. You think you're looking for a partner, but deep down, you're seeking a figure who will say, you're not alone. But no one can give you that now. No one can go back in time and do what wasn't done. And as long as you keep trying to relive your childhood within your adult relationships, everything will collapse. You will love too much, give yourself too soon, give more than you have, and break when the other doesn't come to save you. Do you know why? Because you don't want to love someone. You want someone to take care of your wounded child. But that is your responsibility. You must stop expecting someone else to heal a trauma they never caused. You must stop projecting that childhood hunger onto every new love. You must stop kneeling emotionally before any crumb of attention. You must, for the first time, look inward. Look at that child. Look with compassion and truth, without demanding it vanish, without treating it as weakness. You will see that it does not want much. It only wants to know you will not abandon it again, that this time someone will stay, someone reliable, someone whole, and that someone is you. Because as long as that inner child keeps begging for affection behind the curtain of your life, you will keep creating fragile, intense, and destructive relationships. You will keep confusing affection with survival, care with oxygen, presence with cure, and no human being can carry that weight. People don't leave because you love too much, but because you demand they fill something only you can fill. The love you crave is not love. It is anesthesia, sedative, escape. But the child within you no longer needs to run. It only needs to be embraced, not by a partner, not by a perfect relationship, but by you. And perhaps for the first time, you will realize you no longer need to be chosen, because now you can choose yourself. And by doing so, you begin to break the cycle, to break the pattern, to finally grow. You feel that shiver when the notification arrives. The heart races, the mind fantasizes. Maybe now you will be seen. Maybe now you will be chosen. Maybe at last someone will say, even silently, you are worth it. But then comes the drop, the waiting, the disappearance, the doubt, and you crumble like a castle built on likes. You don't want love. You want to be desired, to be remembered, to feel your presence matters. And with every absence, every glance that doesn't linger, every scene without reply, you feel yourself disappearing a little more. This is not mere lack. It is addiction, an emotional addiction to attention, to confirmation, to those brief spikes of self-worth the other gives you, often without even knowing. We live in an age where being desired has become the new currency of existence. The logic is simple. If no one desires me, then I am invisible. And invisibility hurts more than loneliness, because loneliness is a state. But invisibility is a sentence. It's as if the world tells you, you don't matter. Carl Jung foresaw this even before social media. He wrote that most people believe love is easy, that the hard part is finding the right person to love or be loved by. But what this truly reveals is our inability to look within. We want to be loved without understanding why we need it so desperately. We want to be desired without realizing that deep down we are trying to silence the shame we feel for simply existing. You recognize yourself as someone who is always meeting someone new, always excited about the beginning, always idealizing the next encounter, the next match, the next intense exchange. But curiously, it all ends the same way. You, empty, drained, feeling you gave too much, felt too much, lost too much. This cycle is no accident. It's a symptom of a psyche that linked another's desire to your emotional survival. You need to be desired not because you want to love, but because you need proof you still have value. It's like a chemical addiction. The first compliment is the drink. The unexpected message is the dose. The touch is the drug. And when the source dries up, the withdrawal is brutal. Self-worth plummets, the body goes on alert, the mind starts begging, what did I do wrong? Why am I no longer wanted? How can I be more desirable? And so, the performance begins. You shape yourself, become more pleasant, more interesting, more mysterious, more of everything except yourself. Love becomes an act, desire a currency, and without noticing, you are already prostituting your own soul for acceptance. The culture does not help. We live in a system that sells desire as value, that disguises lack with filters, that turns affection into algorithm. You post, you wait, you get likes, and for a few seconds, you feel alive. But it's all artificial, because it is not you who is being seen, but the marketable version of you. And the more you depend on that, the further you drift from any possibility of real love. Because love demands presence, wholeness. It demands you be with yourself without the constant need to prove your worth. But the validation addict cannot be present. They are always scanning the room for the next sign of approval. They don't listen. They react. They don't feel. They measure. And everything the other person does becomes a mirror. If they desire me, I'm worthy. If they ignore me, I'm worthless. Do you see how much this enslaves you? You are not free to love. You are conditioned. And all conditioned love is a facade, because it is born not from the wish to share, but from the urgency to be confirmed. And the cruelest part, the more you need to be desired, the less you feel worthy of real love. Because deep down, you know they don't truly know you. They love the version you created to be loved, and that hurts deeply. So you run. You change people, faces, stories, but the pattern repeats because the addiction remains. And there is only one way out: to admit you are hooked, to admit that someone else's desire became your drug, to admit that somewhere in your history you learned you had to be desired to exist. But now you can unlearn. You can start again. You can endure silence without collapsing. You can be ignored without disappearing. You can exist even if no one is watching. And this is the beginning of freedom, the first step toward real love. Love not born from hunger, but from abundance, from overflow. But before you get there, you must break the illusion. Stop romanticizing dependence. Stop calling lack intensity. Stop confusing passion with addiction. And maybe today is that day. The day you stop everything and say, I don't need to be desired to exist. Repeat it until you believe it, until you feel it, until one day you no longer wish to be desired, but to be understood, not to be chosen, but to be respected, not to be the object of desire, but the subject of your own love. Have you ever felt that you're only alive when you're with someone? That you can only breathe when you feel you belong, when you're clinging, melting, dissolving into another body, another mind, another affection? You may think that's love, but here's a brutal truth. What you call love is often a desperate attempt to disappear from yourself. Carl Jung would say, this isn't affection, but a form of addiction, an ancestral hunger that has nothing to do with connection and everything to do with escape. Escape from yourself, from the emptiness, from the silent pain that throbs when you are alone. You want someone, but not for who they are. You want the anesthesia they represent. You want relief. You want the silence inside your mind. You want the shutting down of the self, because as it stands, it hurts too much to inhabit. So you give yourself away, dissolve, reshape, disappear, stop being one, and try to become two in one. But that symbiotic fusion is not love. It is regression. It is an unconscious return to the womb, to that state where there was no separation, no lack, no pain. You want someone to hold you so tightly your pain disappears. You want a gaze that defines you, a touch that heals you, a presence that saves you from the abyss of being with yourself. But here's the problem. No one can save you from that. No one can bear to be someone's remedy forever. Sooner or later, the person you idolize, the one you turned into a home, a refuge, a relief, will fail, will be absent, will say no, will need space, and you will feel like you're dying because deep down, you're not seeking them. You're seeking relief from being you. Jung would say, this fusion may seem like love, but it is not. In symbiotic love, two people become one, but neither remains whole. It's not an encounter, it's a disappearance, a relationship where each demands the other fill their emptiness until both suffocate. You say, I gave my all, but what you did was vanish. You stopped being you to become what the other needed or what you thought they wanted, and over time, that destroys you. Because no one can sustain a relationship where they must be everything all the time. You start to drown, to feel small, dependent. Yet you can't leave, because without them, the emptiness reopens. They are the wall holding your pain in place. While they're there, things seem under control. But when they step back, even a little, your inner structure collapses. You panic, obsess, create stories. They're leaving. They're tired of me. I ruined everything. You overcompensate, give more, yield more, erase yourself more, all to keep them close. Not out of love, but out of emotional survival. This is not rare. It's the story of millions who cannot tell love from fusion, passion from desperation, connection from dependency. The truth is harsh. When you seek someone to complete you, you're not seeking love, you're seeking medicine. And no one should be the pharmacy of your soul. You must stop expecting the other to be your home, your mirror, your sedative, your meaning. Because as long as you place that weight on them, love will always hurt. It will always be that love that begins in euphoria and ends in exhaustion. That love that feels like a movie at first, but turns into a nightmare. You must understand, the other can overflow with you, but never fill you. If someone can complete you, it's because you see yourself as incomplete, and that is your responsibility. Symbiotic fusion is, at its core, a way to reject solitude. But true solitude, the silent one that confronts you with your own emptiness, is the only path to real love. because only those who can stand in silence can love without demanding. Only those who have faced their own darkness can see another with clarity. Emotional maturity begins when you can say, I don't need to merge with anyone to exist. You can still love, still give, still be vulnerable, but no longer as an escape, no longer as a patch, no longer as a crutch. True love does not erase, devour, or dissolve. It finds two whole beings who look at each other and choose to walk side by side. Not because they need to, but because they want to. If you felt pain reading this, it's a sign you are ready to let go of what you called love, but was only anesthesia. Let's speak of true love, the love born not from emptiness, but from abundance, overflow, and the freedom of no longer needing to be chosen. You've spent your life waiting for that gaze that says, it's you, hoping someone would finally fill the void that's lived in you since childhood. You tried with smiles, with sex, with silence, with sacrifices. You shaped yourself so much that sometimes you don't know who is behind the mask they call you, all in the name of a desire that looked like love, but was only hunger. Hunger to matter, hunger not to be abandoned, hunger to be enough. But maybe now you're tired. Tired of the repetition, tired of the exhaustion of loving to be validated, tired of giving yourself only to receive back the echo of your own emptiness. That tiredness is sacred. It's the sign of change, the moment when you finally understand, I don't want to depend anymore. I want to overflow. Yes, there is a love not born from lack, a love that doesn't scream, demand, or beg, a love born of silence, self-knowledge, the meeting with your own shadow, and the brave choice not to project it onto anyone else. This love isn't euphoric, it's serene. It doesn't blind, it illuminates. It doesn't erase the other, it reveals them. Carl Jung taught that love, like any art, requires practice, discipline, and patience. But who today is willing to cultivate it? Who will love without using the other as an emotional crutch? Who is ready to love with presence instead of haste? Overflowing love begins with a radical act, the decision to stop running from yourself. You sit with yourself, face your wounds, your lack, your fear of abandonment. And instead of finding someone to soothe it, you commit to caring for it. You stop asking another for what your parents couldn't give. You become the adult your inner child needed. And then something changes. Love stops being a desperate attempt to complete yourself and becomes an extension of your wholeness. You no longer seek someone to save you. You seek someone to share the silence with, someone to walk beside without editing yourself, someone who doesn't need to prove anything because you have nothing left to prove. This love isn't smaller for being calm, nor weaker for being gentle, nor dull for not being obsessive. It is full, born from a heart that no longer bleeds, from a soul that no longer crawls for crumbs, from a being who has already chosen themselves. You will still feel pain, absence, the old urge for validation, but something in you will have shifted, because now you know you are whole. They may leave, and you will still stand. They may ignore you, and you will still know who you are. They may reject you, and you will still love yourself. Love is no longer the search for someone to see you. It is the sharing between two who have already seen themselves. It is when I need you to be happy transforms into I am already happy, but if you wish to walk with me, it will be beautiful. This is the love that does not bind, does not suffocate, does not require you to change, to be worthy. It is the love that celebrates who you are, not who you pretend to be. But to reach this place, You must die. Die to the belief that you must be chosen. Die to the idea that love is a rescue. Die to the childish desire to be completed. And be reborn as someone who no longer begs, no longer trades their soul for attention. To be reborn is to declare, I am my own home, and any love that arrives will be welcome. But it will not be my refuge, because I no longer dwell in absence. You still love, but now you no longer need it to survive. And only then, paradoxically, will you be ready to live a true love. You do not want love. Perhaps it still hurts to hear that, I know. But if you've come this far, it means you've had the rare courage to face something almost no one dares to admit. That behind many of the I love you once said, there was really a silent cry. See me, choose me, save me from myself. And that's okay. The truth is, almost all of us were taught to beg for love while calling it devotion, to extinguish ourselves while disguising it as passion, to become dependent while selling the illusion that love is self-sacrifice. But it is not. Now you understand, don't you? You see that you were mistaken, that you built your affections on a fragile foundation, the need to feel validated, and you called that hunger connection. You thought you needed the other person, but what you truly needed was yourself, your own gaze inward, your own embrace, your own recognition. And that is liberating, because now you no longer have to plead, you no longer have to send messages that humiliate you, you no longer have to become interesting enough to deserve company. You no longer need to measure the worth of your existence by the reaction of someone who barely knows you. Now, you can finally exist for yourself. You can stop running, you can stop acting, you can let go of the character of the desirable person you created to survive, and simply be, just be. That, my dear, is the beginning of another kind of love. A love that doesn't burn, but warms. That doesn't consume, but sustains. That doesn't demand, but embraces. That is not born of desperation, but of stillness. Most people will never reach this place. They will go on confusing anxiety with passion, absence with rejection, presence with worth. But you are changing that. You now know that those who love to avoid disappearing are only clinging to another to avoid sinking. But those who learn to float alone, those can choose to love without losing themselves. And perhaps, after dimming your own light for so long just to fit in, you will finally understand that love is not the place where you vanish. Love is where you remain whole, sufficient, quietly strong. Perhaps it won't be easy. Perhaps you will still stumble, still desire, still idealize, still build illusions. But with each fall, something inside you will remember. I do not need this. You can love, yes, but not from lack, not from fear, not from addiction. You will love because you no longer need to be loved to exist. If you have ever wondered how some people manage to cultivate that unshakable mind, a state of inner stillness that no person, no event, no storm can disturb, then know this: they didn't simply stumble upon it. They acted. They made choices in moments when the easier option was to remain in their old patterns. And if you feel the pull to step into that same steadiness, the path is already open for you. You'll find the first step waiting in the description or in the pinned comment. But it's not always there. It's available only for a short time, because certain doors are not meant to stay open forever. I could end this video with a polite, "Thank you for watching," but that would feel far too small compared to what has just happened between us. Because if you're still here, you didn't just watch, you went through something. You were not a passive observer. You felt. You saw yourself reflected in the words, and perhaps in a moment so subtle no one else would notice. A quiet tear slid down your cheek. Maybe you were sitting alone, in the dim light of a room, where no one really knows you, where your silence has become your only witness. But for a few minutes here, in this strange space, between two souls separated by a screen, you were seen. And since we are already speaking truths, let me offer you one I have never said aloud. For many years, I too mistook the void for love. I threw myself into relationships that started like wildfires and ended in cold ash, not because the other person was cruel or unworthy, but because I was absent from my own life. I confused being noticed with being cherished, instant replies with genuine connection, fleeting glances with the safety of belonging. And every time someone walked away, it felt as if the ground beneath me collapsed into nothing. Yes, I was addicted to validation, but I disguised it. I called it passion. I dressed it up as beauty, almost as something poetic. Until one night, when the rest of the world was silent and only my inner noise remained, I finally understood. I didn't want to love. I wanted to be rescued. And that, whether we admit it or not, is never fair. Not to the other person, and certainly not to ourselves. But it takes time to see this. Time to stop reciting the same script with different actors. Time to realize that the real wound was not caused by the absence of others, but by the absence that had always existed inside me. The truth is, I was a stranger to myself, searching for home in someone else's hands. And no one, no matter how gentle, how devoted, can carry that weight for you forever. It was only when I stopped waiting for someone to arrive and save me, and instead began building a home within myself, that everything shifted. I no longer begged for scraps of love. I no longer shaped myself into whatever I thought would please another. Instead, I began to give love, not as a transaction, not as a desperate attempt to secure a place in someone's life, but simply because it overflowed from me, without demands, without fear, without bargaining. If you have felt something stir inside you as you listened, if an old wound you never named suddenly found its voice, then this moment has been worth every breath we've shared here. Before I leave you, I have two invitations. The first is simple. Write in the comments, "I choose myself." Just 3 words. But maybe, for the first time in your life, you will mean them entirely. Let them be an oath to yourself, a declaration that you will no longer abandon who you are. The second is this. If you feel you need more truths like this, more nights where words strip away the illusions, more conversations that place a blade to the lies you tell yourself, then don't pretend you'll find that depth by accident. That subscribe button below isn't just a meaningless click. It's a small rebellion. It's a signal to the universe and to yourself that you are done feeding on the shallow affection the world throws at you, that you are ready to dive into the currents of your own mind, to face your shadow, to wander into the parts of your soul you've been taught to avoid. The algorithms of this world are designed to keep us skimming the surface. But here, together, we dive. We dive into the mind, into the shadow, into the unlit corners of the human spirit, the places most pretend don't exist. And before we close, I'll leave you with 2 final thoughts. The first, another video will appear on the screen in a moment. But be warned, it may speak to the very truth you've been running from your whole life. Click only if you are ready to meet yourself there. The second, if you've stayed with me until now and still haven't liked this video, maybe it's because you're still waiting for a sign, for someone else's love, for permission to act. But here, We don't wait to be chosen. Here, we move first. We choose first. So if you're ready, act with intention. I'll see you in the next abyss, or perhaps in your very first overflow. With respect, with presence, and with a touch of madness, I take my leave for now. But know this, what we touched here today, it remains. It follows you. And if you let it, it will change you. Have you ever felt that someone is stealing something you cannot name? It is not your time. It is not your money. It is something deeper, your dignity. You are there, facing someone who ignores you, someone who belittles you, or someone who talks to you as if you were worth nothing. And something inside of you screams enough, but you stay silent. You tell yourself it is not worth the fight, that it is better to keep the peace. Yet that peace has a price. It disconnects you from who you truly are. Today, we will change that. It is not about pride. It is not arrogance. It is dignity. And Carl Jung, the genius who explored the depths of the soul, holds the key to reclaim it. This is not just a video. It is an awakening. If you feel you deserve more, like now and subscribe, because we are going to the core of this together. Carl Jung was not only a psychologist, he was a cartographer of the spirit. He discovered that inside each one of us there is a hidden universe, the unconscious, a place where our deepest truths live, our fears, and also our strength. At the center of that universe is the self, your pure essence, that core that knows your worth even if the world tells you otherwise. But here is the problem. Since childhood, we are taught to ignore that voice. Do not make noise. Endure. Do not be selfish. And little by little, we stop demanding respect because we believe asking for it is a luxury we do not deserve. Jung tells us that demanding respect is a sacred act. It is honoring the self and reminding the world that your energy, your time, and your being are untouchable. Think about this. How many times have you felt that knot in your chest when someone crosses your limits? When you tried to express what you feel and were told you were exaggerating? When someone constantly interrupts you as if your voice does not matter, and inside you felt the silence burning? It was not pride that wanted to speak. It was dignity. It is that moment when you look at yourself and ask, why am I allowing my worth to be trampled? Not to attack, but to reclaim yourself. Jung would call that an encounter with the shadow. The shadow is that part of us we hide, the fear of rejection, the insecurity, but also the power we do not use because we fear shining. When you allow others to disrespect you, you feed that shadow, giving it permission to grow in the dark. But when you stand firm and say no more, you bring it into the light and integrate it into the self. It is as if you told your unconscious, I am here, and my dignity is not negotiable. Pause for a second. Breathe. Who in your life makes you feel you are not enough? Do not say a name. Just think of that person. What would you say if today you drew a clear line? Imagine that scene. Hold on to that feeling, because we are going to build upon it. Now imagine this. When someone who feels powerless smiles on the outside, but breaks on the inside, what they have forgotten is that their self does not ask permission to exist. If they looked with calm and said, do not speak to me like that, I deserve respect, they would not be being rude, they would be reclaiming their being. If they said, my feelings matter, and if you do not respect them, this will not work, they would not be exaggerating, they would be honoring their essence. And you? Where do you need to raise your voice? Demanding respect is not fighting or shouting. It is an act of love for yourself and for others. Jung spoke of individuation. the process of becoming who you truly are, but not in isolation. Your relationships are a mirror of your inner world. If you let yourself be stepped on, that mirror fogs and yourself is lost in the mist. But when you set boundaries, the reflection clears, and not only do you benefit, you also give the other the chance to grow. Imagine telling someone, "I do not accept you speaking to me that way," and that person, instead of getting angry, reflects and changes. Or maybe they do not change, but you still win, because you chose yourself. Tell me in the comments, when was the last time you let someone cross your limits? Write one word, one initial, whatever you want. This is a space to share and heal. Let us pause here. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of a situation where you felt belittled. Do you have it? Now imagine saying, "I deserve." Do not shout. Just say it firmly. How does your body feel when you say it? That warmth, that strength, is yourself reminding you who you are. If this is resonating, share this video with someone who needs this message. Let us keep growing together. Back to Jung. He said, "The unconscious does not speak with words, but with symbols and sensations. That knot in the stomach when someone dismisses you. That sting in the chest when criticized unfairly. Those are not accidents. They are signs that your dignity is at stake." And here is the powerful part. You can choose to listen. It is not about becoming rigid or fighting over everything, but about recognizing that your energy is sacred. Do you know why? Because your energy is the fuel of your dreams, your relationships, your life. If you let it drain away with those who do not value you, what remains for you? Sometimes we realize, after years of saying yes to everything, that we feel empty. Jung would say that this is projecting the shadow on others, the fear of not being enough that makes us please everyone, but not ourselves, until one day we say no. It may be to someone who always demands without giving, or to someone whose jokes wound. And in that moment, something changes. It is not easy, but it is liberation. What do you need to say no to today? Here is a practical tool from Jung. Pay attention to your emotions. When you feel anger, sadness, or discomfort, do not ignore them. Ask yourself, what is this showing me? What boundary do I need to set? Those emotions are messengers from your unconscious, and listening to them leads you straight to your dignity. For example, if someone says something that hurts you, do not stay silent. Say, "That hurt me, and I want to talk about it." If someone disregards your time again, do not excuse it. Say, "This matters to me, and I expect you to consider it next time." These are simple but powerful phrases. Let us pause again. Reflect. What person or situation is draining your energy right now? You do not need to solve everything today, but imagine what would happen if you drew a line. That feeling when you set a boundary, that warmth in your chest telling you this is right. It is as if something inside you wakes up, as if yourself, that core Carl Jung described as your purest essence, finally gets permission to breathe. But here is the truth we often resist. The relationships you choose, the people you allow into your life, are a mirror of how much you respect yourself. If you keep tolerating disrespect, that mirror is fogged, and your dignity dissolves in the haze. Yet when you decide to demand what you deserve, you do not just clear that reflection, you transform everything around you. Stay with me, because we are going to explore how Jung teaches us to release what weighs us down and build relationships that honor who we truly are. If this is moving something within you, share this message with someone who needs to hear it, because we are walking this path together. Jung said, The unconscious does not only hold your fears and your dreams, it also projects what you carry inside into the outer world. He called this projection, and it is a powerful idea. Have you noticed that the people who most upset you have something strangely familiar about them? Jung would say, that is no accident. Those people are reflections of your shadow, the side of you you try to hide, but which keeps appearing through others until you finally face it. Think of it this way. Every relationship is a conversation between your unconscious and someone else's. When you allow disrespect, you are telling yourself it does not matter, that your light can dim so others may shine. But when you demand dignity, that conversation changes. You declare to the world, I am here, and my worth is not negotiable. What is remarkable is that not only do you transform yourself, but those around you also feel that change. Some drift away, others grow with you, but all begin to see you differently. Do you feel that? Here lies the point. Demanding respect is not simply setting boundaries. It is letting go of what does not serve you. Jung spoke of individuation as a journey toward authenticity, and that journey includes releasing relationships that keep you small. It is not surrender, nor escape. It is recognizing that some people and situations are not aligned with yourself. And when you release them, something almost magical happens. Your energy returns, your mind clears, and the universe starts drawing toward you what truly resonates. Perhaps you have let go of someone toxic and suddenly found someone inspiring, or left a draining job and discovered an opportunity that excites you. That is not luck. It is what Jung called synchronicity, when your inner and outer worlds align. Let us pause here. Breathe deeply. Think of one relationship weighing you down right now. Ask yourself, do I feel valued here, or am I forcing something that drains me? You do not need to answer out loud, but hold on to that reflection. If this message is helping you, give it your attention, because we are going to keep unraveling this together. Let us return to relationships as mirrors. Jung believed that what you see in others, what you love, what you hate, is always a reflection of yourself. If someone disrespects you and you allow it, it is not only about them, it is about what you believe you deserve. What reflection are you seeing in your relationships right now? Letting go is never easy. We cling because we fear the emptiness. But Jung reminds us that emptiness is sacred, a blank canvas where something new can be painted. When you let go of someone who does not respect you, you are not losing. You are making space for what lifts you higher. Here is a practical tool. Make a mental list. Divide the people in your life into two columns. Those who make you feel alive, respected, whole, and those who drain you, silence you, make you doubt. You do not have to act today, but ask yourself, what would happen if I let go of just one of those who weigh me down? Imagine that freedom. Imagine how it feels. Now let us talk about self-love, because demanding respect begins there. Jung said, you cannot integrate your shadow or reach yourself without looking at yourself with honesty and care. Think about it. How often do you put yourself last? How often do you apologize for simply existing? Learning to say no is the first step toward dignity. Saying no to what drains you, no to what silences you, no to what reduces you. Here is another tool. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I deserve respect. It sounds simple, but try it. If it makes you uncomfortable, if you feel strange, that is your shadow resisting. Keep saying it until you believe it, because once you believe it, you will demand it. And once you demand it, you will receive it. Tell me in the comments, What is truly difficult for you to say no to? Write it down as a single word, or perhaps as a phrase that captures your struggle. Your answers not only inspire me, they also inspire everyone walking alongside us on this path of growth. Every comment becomes a mirror, showing us that we are not alone, that others share the same battles, and that our courage can encourage someone else to face their own truth. Now, let's pause again. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself standing in front of someone who disregards your worth, someone who does not respect your voice, someone who treats you as if you are invisible. In that moment, in the silence of your mind, say these words: "My dignity is untouchable." Feel those words settle in your body. Feel how your chest expands, how your posture changes, how your heart grows stronger. That power you are feeling belongs to you, and it has always been yours. No one can steal it, no matter how hard they try. If these words are resonating with you, do not keep them only for yourself. Share this with someone who might need this reminder, because sometimes a single sentence can awaken a sleeping strength. Let's keep growing together. And now, let's return to Jung and the idea of synchronicity. Jung taught us that when you begin to demand respect, the universe listens. This is not fairy tale magic. It is not wishful thinking. It is the natural law of alignment. Your inner world communicates with the outer world, and when they match, synchronicity happens. Think about it. Have you noticed that when you finally stand firm, when you finally decide that your worth is non-negotiable, events around you begin to rearrange themselves? Maybe you drew a boundary, and suddenly kindness showed up where you least expected it. Or maybe you walked away from something that drained your energy, and without warning, a new door opened, revealing a better path. That is synchronicity in action. The external world reflecting your internal transformation. But for synchronicity to unfold, you must release what no longer honors you. It is not a coincidence that the right people arrive only after you let go of the wrong ones. Ask yourself now, what do you need to release so your life can finally align? Let me give you a simple, practical challenge. This week, say no to one small thing you do not want to do. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be choosing not to reply to a message that disturbs your peace. It could be refusing a task that was never yours to carry. Then notice how you feel afterward. That no is more than a word. It is a brick laid in the foundation of your dignity. And when you take this small action, I want to hear about it. Tell me in the comments how it felt, because your story might give someone else the courage to do the same. Let's pause once more. Reflect for a moment. What relationship in your life fails to reflect your true value? You do not need to end it today, but allow yourself to imagine how it would feel to release it, to finally let go of the weight. If this reflection is bringing you clarity, give this video a like and subscribe, because in the next part, we are going to close this journey with strength. We will see how living from your dignity does not only change your relationships, it opens the door to an authentic, powerful, and deeply fulfilling life. The very kind Jung envisioned when he spoke of individuation. Stay with me. We were talking about letting go, about learning to say no to what diminishes you. That moment when you stand tall and declare, "My dignity is not negotiable," is more than a turning point in your relationships. It is the beginning of a new life. A life aligned with what Carl Jung called the self, your most authentic, undivided essence. When you demand respect, you do more than clear your connections with others. You redefine the way you exist in this world. And although it may feel like this is the end of our journey together, it is not the end at all. It is the beginning of something powerful awakening inside you. If you can feel these words touching your soul, like this video now and subscribe, because we are going to close with strength. And I want to leave you with tools you can begin using today. Jung believed the true purpose of life is not merely to survive, not merely to fit in, but to move toward individuation, that deep process of becoming the fullest version of yourself. And here is the secret. You do not arrive there by hiding your light, by bargaining away your worth, or by shrinking yourself to please others. You arrive there by demanding respect, not as a scream of defiance, but as a quiet, steady act of self-love. And when you live from that place, everything transforms. Your relationships, your dreams, even the way you wake up each morning. Imagine opening your eyes tomorrow with the certainty that no one can make you feel small, because yourself, the deepest truth of who you are, is in command. How would that day unfold? Stay with me, because we are building that reality together. Each time you stand for your dignity, you are sending a message to your unconscious mind. You are telling it, I am ready for something better. And the unconscious always responds. Jung called this synchronicity, the mysterious but real connections that emerge when the inner and outer worlds align. Have you experienced it? The moment you say enough to someone who belittles you, suddenly a door you didn't even know existed opens. You walk away from a toxic situation, and almost as if the universe was waiting, someone new appears, someone who sees you for who you truly are. That is life whispering. Keep going. You are on the right path. But for synchronicity to continue flowing, you must choose to live from yourself, not from your shadow. And let's pause on the shadow, because it holds the key. Jung taught that the shadow, the hidden part of ourselves filled with fear, doubt, and unclaimed power, does not disappear when we ignore it. In fact, when we deny it, it shows up disguised as toxic relationships, as self-sabotaging behaviors, or as that small voice that whispers, you don't deserve more, stay quiet, accept less. But when you face it, when you say, I will not tolerate this anymore, something powerful happens. You integrate it, and it becomes part of your strength. Here is a tool you can use. The next time someone disrespects you, instead of reacting instantly, pause. Ask yourself, what part of me is allowing this? What fear am I hiding behind? Perhaps it is fear of being alone. Perhaps it is fear of not being loved. Perhaps it is fear of not being enough. Write down the answer. Then calmly but firmly tell the other person, I do not accept this. Simple words, yet they do more than set boundaries. They return your power back to you. Let's pause again. Take a deep breath. Think of a moment not long ago when you allowed someone to cross your limits. Now, in your mind, replay that scene and imagine yourself saying, my dignity is non-negotiable. Hear the strength in your inner voice. That strength is yours to keep. It always was. If this is giving you clarity, share it with someone else who needs to hear this message. Let's continue walking together. Living with dignity is not only about saying no, it is also about saying yes to yourself, to your joy, to what lifts your soul. Jung reminded us that the self does not only want to survive, it longs to flourish. Every time you demand respect, you are not only removing the weight of what hurts you, you are making space for what allows you to shine. Ask yourself, what yes do you need to give yourself today? Here is a practice. Take 5 quiet minutes this week, sit in silence, and write down 3 things you would love to do if no one judged you. Then, choose one of them and take one small step toward it. That yes belongs to yourself. Do not hide it. And when you dare to say yes to yourself, you will notice how the people around you begin to treat you differently. Because dignity is not only demanded, it is lived. Now let's return to relationships, because they are at the heart of this journey. Jung said that the people we choose to keep close shape our psyche. If you are surrounded by those who respect and uplift you, your self expands, your light grows. But if you are surrounded by those who diminish you, your shadow will take over. Here is another challenge. This week, simply observe. Notice the people in your life. Who makes you feel larger, brighter, freer? Who makes you feel smaller, unseen, unworthy? You do not need to cut ties immediately, but begin leaning toward those who see you, and slowly distance yourself from those who don't. Notice how your energy shifts. And if you do this, tell me in the comments. I want to know how you feel. Let's pause once more. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself surrounded only by people who respect, value, and inspire you. What would that life look like? Hold on to that vision, because it is possible. If this message is resonating with you, give it a like and subscribe, because we are about to close with a recap you will not forget. We are nearing the end, but before we close, let's reflect on what we have uncovered. Jung taught us that dignity is not pride. It is an act of love toward yourself. That the self is your inner compass, the shadow your greatest teacher, and synchronicity your reward for aligning with your truth. That demanding respect cleanses your relationships and aligns you with your authentic path. That letting go of what dishonors you opens doors to what truly nourishes you. And that living from dignity transforms not only you, but the world you inhabit. Everything begins with one choice, the choice to honor yourself. Remember this final truth. You are not an accident in this vast universe. You are a miracle of consciousness, a being with immeasurable worth, and no one has the right to take that away. Every single time you stand for your dignity, you remind the world that your light matters. So today, not tomorrow, make this decision. Say no to something that weighs you down, and say yes to something that ignites your soul. Watch how your life begins to shift, little by little, moment by moment. Jung once said, "There is no awakening without pain, but that pain is the seed of your greatness. Live it, embrace it, protect it." Let's pause one last time. Reflect deeply. What will you do differently after hearing this? Do not answer me. Make a promise to yourself. If this message has resonated with you, share it with someone who needs this awakening. Leave a comment. What boundary will you set? What yes will you finally give yourself? Your words matter, your voice matters, and your example can inspire others. Subscribe if you have not yet, and turn on the notification bell, because we are not finished. Our exploration of truth, dignity, and Jung's vision of the self continues. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this journey. Remember always, this is not pride, it is dignity, and you deserve to live from it. See you in the next video. And never forget, change begins with you, and the world is waiting for your light. Have you ever truly sat with yourself and asked why you feel the way you do? Why that persistent heaviness follows you like a silent shadow, clinging to every step you take? It's not always sadness in the traditional sense, nor is it simply emptiness or fatigue. It's something far more elusive, something that escapes definition, a quiet sorrow that settles deep in your bones and never seems to lift. You don't talk about it. Of course you don't. Instead, you mask it with polite smiles, half-hearted small talk, and social obligations that feel like wearing clothes 2 sizes too small. You go through the motions because that's what's expected. But inside, something aches, something you've stopped trying to name. You tell yourself, this is temporary. A bad week, a bad season, maybe even a bad year. You convince yourself that things will eventually change, that the fog will lift on its own. But every single morning, you wake up with that same invisible ache lodged deep in your chest. It doesn't scream, it doesn't shout, it just lingers. It hums like a low, familiar frequency that only you can hear. And over time, it makes you question. Am I depressed? Am I broken? Is there something inside me that's fundamentally wrong? But here's where it gets even darker, more disorienting. You're not broken in the way you might think. This isn't just depression, not in the clinical chemical sense that people talk about. What you're experiencing is more subtle and insidious. It's not just sadness, it's betrayal. And not by others, but by your own mind. You are caught in a silent war, and the enemy is you. The voice in your head, the one that tears you down, questions your worth, scrutinizes every decision, is a voice you created. You built it, you fed it, and now it governs you with surgical precision. Without even realizing it, you've turned your own thoughts into weapons. You hand them over every day to an invisible version of yourself that knows exactly where to strike. You are both the victim and the executioner. And the most horrifying part? You're incredibly good at it. Your self-sabotage is not clumsy or chaotic. It's methodical, practiced, nearly perfect. You don't even realize how much of your pain is self-inflicted. You blame the world, the circumstances, the people around you. You say life is hard, unfair, unrelenting. But if you dig deeper, beneath the surface excuses, you'll see the brutal truth. You are the designer of your own suffering. You are the one who plants seeds of doubt in your mind. You are the one who waters them with overthinking and lets them bloom into paralyzing fears. You create standards so high no human could ever meet them, then crucify yourself for falling short. Every time you berate yourself, every time you whisper that you're not good enough, you're driving the knife deeper. And worst of all, you know this. Some part of you knows. But admitting it would mean facing a storm you've spent your entire life avoiding. You feel off, defective, like you're malfunctioning in a world that expects perfection. But the tragic irony is, you're operating exactly as you were conditioned to. You've become the perfect saboteur, relentless, vigilant, unforgiving. You question your own joy. You downplay your accomplishments. You bury every flicker of pride under a mountain of self-imposed humility. And why? Because somewhere along the way, you decided it was safer to hurt yourself before someone else could. You created an internal wound and called it protection. You believed that if you were hard on yourself first, no one else could surprise you with pain. You built a fortress, but the walls were made of razors, and now everything that touches you cuts a little deeper. You wear your fear like armor, your self-criticism like a shield. But these things don't guard you. They drain you. Slowly, silently, they eat you alive. And if you listen carefully, you'll realize these words aren't just poetic abstractions. They're a mirror. They reflect a fear that you've long buried under the illusion of control. The fear that you'll never be enough. that no matter how hard you try, you'll always fall short of the impossible expectations you've set for yourself. And that's where the noose tightens, not from the outside world, but from within. Every anxious thought, every perfectionist impulse, every moment of self-doubt pulls the rope tighter. Carl Jung once warned that the greatest danger to humanity lies not in the world, but in the psyche. He understood that the real battles are not fought in the streets or the fields. They rage silently inside the mind. Because if the threat was external, you could escape it. You could move, change jobs, find new friends. But when the threat lives within, there's no flight, only the illusion of escape. You carry your war with you. Every city, every room, every conversation is haunted by it. You bring the battlefield wherever you go because the battlefield is you. No flags, no enemies, no peace treaties, just you, waking up every day to fight yourself in silence. And you've done it for so long that it's become your normal. You don't even hear the explosions anymore. You've grown numb to your own suffering. You've made peace with the chaos, and that is the saddest piece of all. You carry burdens that were never yours to begin with. You inherited guilt from voices long gone, expectations from people who never saw the real you. You learned to apologize for existing, to shrink yourself, to walk through life like you owe the world an apology for breathing. But none of this was innate. It was taught. It was repeated. It was carved into you until you believed it was truth. You cultivated your own guilt like a garden. You nurtured it with every insecurity, trimmed it with every fear, and fed it with the silence of never standing up for yourself. Because let's be honest, being hard on yourself is easier than forgiving yourself. Punishment feels familiar. Compassion feels foreign. And so, self-hatred becomes your default, your routine, your home. Why? Because you were trained for this since childhood. You were taught that being kind to yourself was weakness, that being proud of yourself was arrogance, that loving yourself was vanity. So you became your own worst critic, your harshest judge. You convinced yourself that self-compassion was dangerous. But no one ever told you that the real danger was the slow, corrosive effect of constant self-destruction. And this is the part where most people stop listening. Because the truth hurts. The truth isn't warm or comfortable. It shakes the foundations. It demands that you take responsibility for the way you treat yourself. And that's terrifying. Because if you're the one holding the knife, then you're the one who has to choose to drop it. But here you are, still listening, still breathing. And maybe, just maybe, that means you're ready. Ready to stop waging war on yourself. Ready to stop normalizing pain. Ready to rebuild not with shame, but with understanding. Because you deserve that much. You always have. You're still here because something deep inside you recognizes every word as truth. Not just any truth, but your truth. One you've never quite managed to explain, yet you've always felt. You've carried it like a quiet ache, a background noise to your existence that never goes silent. And despite everything, despite the years, the doubts, the wounds, you're still here. Because somewhere inside you, there's a voice that refuses to die. A part of you. Maybe the smallest part, but also the most powerful. That still believes you're not meant to live in chains. That you're not destined to be a prisoner of fear. So let me tell you something that maybe no one has ever dared to say out loud. Something no one has had the courage to offer you as a mirror. That spark inside you, that stubborn little flame that refuses to be extinguished, is not just resilience. It's raw power. It's proof that courage was never something you lacked. You simply didn't know it had always been there, waiting for you to notice it. The real question isn't, why do I feel like this? It's, what is this trying to show me? What is the purpose of this constant war within you? Why do you keep sharpening your inner blades only to use them on yourself? What do you gain by fighting a battle that leaves you exhausted every single day? Because whether you realize it or not, there's something in that suffering that has become comfortable, familiar, maybe even necessary. It has become your shield, your excuse to avoid the far more terrifying war, the one outside, the one where you might fail in front of others, where your wounds could be seen. So long as you're busy battling yourself, you don't have to face the risk of truly living. And in a strange, painful way, that's become your refuge, a shelter built from ruin. One that burns, yes, but it's your fire, and you know every inch of it. Here's the shift that might change everything. You're not trying to destroy yourself. You're trying to wake up. What you call suffering, what you experience as torment, is actually the cost of consciousness in a world that thrives on numbness. Your inner war is not a sign of weakness. It's the clearest sign that you haven't given up, that you're still trying to break free, that you still believe deep down that something better is possible. Carl Jung was right. Life is suffering, but more than that, it's transformation. And the point isn't to escape the pain, it's to become someone new because of it. This is the true challenge, not just to survive, but to alchemize your pain, to turn every scar into a source of wisdom, to wear every wound not as a shameful secret, but as a quiet medal on your soul. Look at yourself. No, really. Look inward. Even without a mirror, observe who you've become through the lens of these words. Can you see the weary but undefeated warrior who still lives inside you? Can you feel that spark that hasn't gone out, not even after everything you've been through? That spark isn't a coincidence. It's not a mistake. It's your truth. Your soul refusing to forget its purpose. It's undeniable proof that you are not broken. You're still in the midst of the only battle that truly matters, the battle for yourself. And now that you know it, welcome. Welcome to the war you didn't even realize you were fighting. And prepare yourself, because now the real journey begins. Because once your eyes are open, truly open, there's something even darker you need to confront. A more insidious enemy than any thought you've labeled as bad or dark. This one doesn't scream. It doesn't hurt right away. It doesn't come at you like a storm. It seeps in slowly, like a subtle poison. It whispers. It blends in with your thoughts so perfectly that you begin to mistake it for your own voice. This enemy is called self-deception. That's right, not sadness, not fear, not anxiety. What's been quietly destroying you is the illusion you've built to justify why you haven't changed. It's the false story you've told yourself so many times that now you call it fact. You've convinced yourself that you can't evolve, that your circumstances are immovable, that your wounds are too deep and your burdens too heavy. And that story, crafted word by word over the years, has become your favorite prison. A place where you're always safe, but never free. But let's go deeper, because this isn't about staying on the surface. This isn't about giving you comfort. This is about confronting the fire inside of you. And if we dare to dig, really dig, we'll find something uncomfortable but necessary. That part of you that refuses to let go of the victim role. It's not there because you're weak. It's there because it gives you something. It's easier to be a victim. It's seductive. Playing the victim gives you a pass. It means you never have to take the terrifying step of trying, of risking, of failing. It lets you gain sympathy without ever having to be fully vulnerable. It's like living in a broken house that you've convinced yourself is safer than the unknown outside. Yes, the walls are crumbling. Yes, it hurts. But you know it. You've learned its rules, and anything else, even happiness, feels foreign. So you stay, because pain you've come to know is easier than freedom you don't. And here's the brutal truth. Comfort is your enemy. Not the comfort of luxury or routine. I mean inner comfort. That soft lie you tell yourself every day. This is just how I am. The space where you stop asking questions. The space where growth goes to die. Because growth doesn't happen in safety. It happens in risk, in vulnerability, in not knowing. And your mind, wired for survival, prefers the pain it understands over the healing it can't predict. That's why you've chosen the familiar cage. That's why you've mistaken survival for living. Your mind is a master at turning its own traps into sacred truths. It calls your walls wisdom. It calls your fears realism. It tells you that closing off your heart is smart, that never trying is practical. But none of it is true. It's all just a very convincing form of avoidance. You've become the guard of your own prison. You're the one locking the door every time life opens it a crack. And now I'm asking you to imagine something radical. Imagine peeling away every single excuse. Imagine seeing your life, your suffering, your beliefs, with complete clarity. No filters, no stories, just truth. What would be left? I'll tell you. What would remain is the real you. The version of yourself you've never dared to meet. The one not defined by pain, but by the ability to rise above it. The one who isn't trapped in this inner war, but who understands it, learns from it, and transforms because of it. Because here's the final truth, the one that shatters the illusion completely. You cannot win this internal war by fighting harder. You cannot destroy the darkness by hating it more. You cannot beat yourself into becoming whole. The only way forward is through love, through understanding, through the radical, terrifying act of choosing to see yourself not as broken, but as becoming. Your battle ends not when you conquer yourself, but when you embrace the truth of who you are. And that is when the real transformation begins. You cannot extinguish fire by adding more fire. You need a different strategy. You must become the observer of your own inner conflict, not another blind soldier fighting within it. And this is where the true power of understanding begins to emerge. When you stop reacting against yourself and start observing your mental movements, you become a strategist. Carl Jung taught that true transformation begins when the unconscious becomes conscious, when you stop being a puppet of your instincts and start witnessing them with clarity. You're no longer the panicked soldier running aimlessly across the battlefield, but the calm commander who anticipates every move before making it. You begin to predict your own self-sabotage, disarm the traps you once set for yourself. What is that, if not the beginning of self-mastery? And trust me, there is no weapon more lethal in this internal war than mastery over oneself. But don't misinterpret these words. Mastery does not mean repression. It doesn't mean choking your emotions until they vanish. It means understanding them so deeply they lose their grip on you. It means watching the wave of harsh self-criticism build, and instead of being swept away, learning to ride it. It means recognizing when you're sinking into self-deception and having the courage to grab hold of the rope of truth, even when it burns your hands. Because let me warn you, truth burns. It does not caress, it scorches. But this burn is purifying. It forges you. And there's a deeper layer we cannot ignore. While you're caught in your internal battle, time does not pause. It doesn't wait for you to resolve your war before moving on. Life marches forward relentlessly, dragging you along whether you're ready or not. The days burn away, the years dissolve, and without even noticing, you become someone who spent an entire existence at war with themselves, without ever aiming a single shot toward their true goals. Do you see it now? This is the ultimate trap. The inner war drains you so deeply that you forget to fight for what actually matters. You spend years battling ghosts of your own invention while your real dreams starve in silence. Let me put it even more clearly. Your worst enemy isn't sadness, it's not fear, it's not anxiety, it's distraction. That constant distraction that pulls your attention away from what matters and towards the fireworks of your own doubts. It's like being on a sinking ship and wasting your strength arguing with your reflection instead of patching the leaks. You become a prisoner of your own mental theater, a never-ending performance leading nowhere. And why is this enemy so dangerous? Because it's quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't look like a threat. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as constructive self-criticism. But it's not constructive. It's destructive, only it moves so slowly that you don't realize it until it's too late. It convinces you that waiting a little longer is wise, that doubt is rational, that postponing your dreams in the name of responsibility is the mature thing to do. And meanwhile, life is slipping through your fingers. I want you to think about this with all the brutality it deserves. Every day you spend stuck in this inner war, you are giving away your time, your energy, your life to an enemy that exists only in your mind. You are surrendering your days to an illusion. You are mortgaging your existence out of fear of confronting what lies beyond your internal conflict. And here's the part that will chill your blood. What lies beyond is not an abyss. It's freedom. It's the possibility of living without the constant weight of mental self-destruction. But to reach that freedom, you must walk across the minefield of your own deceptions. The good news is, the mines aren't real. They are mental constructs, ones you can dismantle if you dare to see them for what they truly are. Sophisticated excuses disguised as protection. You need to understand that this inner war cannot be won with more resistance. It is won through surrender. Not the kind of surrender that signals defeat, but the kind that signifies acceptance. Acceptance that the war was never necessary. Acceptance that you are not broken, that you don't need fixing. You simply need to stop fighting your own existence. Let me ask you something you've probably avoided for far too long. How much longer are you going to delay your own peace? How many more days, weeks, or even years will you choose to remain trapped? Not by someone else, not by the world, but by your own inner mechanisms, by the mental weapons you've forged and turned against yourself. You see, the battle that's been raging inside of you, it doesn't end when life gets easier or when someone comes along to rescue you. It ends only when you decide to lay down your arms, and not a second before. Listen carefully now. Don't let your mind wander. This is where most people look away, where they blink, where they retreat into the comfort of distraction. But not you, because what I'm about to share is something most never dare to speak out loud. It's the final chapter in the story you thought you understood. A revelation buried beneath all the motivational noise, beneath the surface of every self-help book you've ever skimmed. The war within you, the one that keeps you up at night, that tightens your chest, that whispers failure when you try to rise. It doesn't end with a flash of insight or a sudden jolt of inspiration. It doesn't end with a catchy quote or a fleeting feeling. That's not how real transformation works. That's not how inner peace is born. The truth is harder. It's deeper. The truth is that the part of you you've been fighting, the part you call your inner enemy, is not really your enemy at all. It is a fragment of you, raw and unrefined, desperately trying to speak. That fear, that harsh voice that criticizes your every move, that self-sabotage you mistake for weakness, none of it is meant to destroy you. It's meant to wake you up. What you've been calling your enemy is just a distorted reflection of your own survival instinct. Primitive, chaotic, overreactive. A voice formed in moments of trauma and uncertainty. A voice trying to shield you from imagined threats long after the danger has passed. But in its confusion, it lashes out at the very person it's trying to protect. You. Do you understand what that means? You've been trying to silence this voice with force. You've tried to numb it, escape it, or destroy it entirely. But you can't win that way, because it's not a monster. It's a scared guardian. And no amount of violence will quiet a guardian who believes you are still in danger. So what do? You do the hardest, most counterintuitive thing possible. You don't fight it. You don't surrender to it either. You listen. You understand. You acknowledge its presence without letting it take the wheel. That's what true inner mastery looks like. It's not about creating a perfectly silent mind. That doesn't exist. Even the most enlightened minds are filled with noise. But they've learned to walk anyway. You build, even as the doubts echo through your skull. You move forward, even when fear clings to your heels. You take one more step, knowing the ghosts of your past may always be near, but they no longer have the power to guide your direction. Because here is a truth that changes everything. Fear doesn't vanish. It doesn't dissolve in light. It walks beside you, and you walk anyway. Insecurity doesn't disappear, but it loses its grip every time you act despite it. And that war you've been fighting inside, it isn't one like a normal war. It's transcended. It ends not in conquest, but in understanding. Not in domination, but in integration. Look at yourself. Really look. You've made it this far. Through the storms, through the dark nights, when your own thoughts felt like enemies. You've endured every judgment, every failure, every self-inflicted wound. You've survived truths that others would run from. Doesn't that tell you something? That somewhere deep inside, the transformation has already begun, even if you didn't see it happening. There's a part of you, small perhaps, but growing, that's sick of illusions, tired of comforting lies, and ready, finally ready, for the discomfort that leads to growth. That core part of you, your essence, has moved beyond mere survival. It wants to live now, truly live. And that is the most sacred kind of victory. The realization that you don't have to keep wounding yourself to prove you're strong. That you can stop picking up weapons and start picking up tools. That the darkest part of you, the one you've labeled as broken or weak, may be the very source of your resilience, your insight, your power. Because a person who has survived the war within is no longer afraid of what the world might throw at them. They've already faced their fiercest opponent, themselves, and they made it out alive. So now, I want to offer you something. Just one simple act. It won't cost anything. It's small, but it's powerful. if you choose to do it. Leave a comment beneath this video with these words. Today, I've seen my true enemy. That's all. No explanation, no context. Let it sit there like a mysterious message, a breadcrumb trail for others who are beginning to wake up. It will be our quiet revolution, the unseen chorus of those who have decided to face their own reflection. And if these words reached you, if even a tiny part of you felt seen, recognized, understood, then stay, subscribe, because what we've uncovered here, it's only the beginning. There is more, so much more to discover, to unravel, to rebuild from the ashes. This journey isn't ending, it's just beginning. But before you go, I want you to do one final thing. Don't go searching for peace in the outside world, not while there's a war still being waged inside. Make today the day you form the most important alliance of your life, not with anyone else, with yourself. Look into your inner reflection. Really look and say, I won't destroy you. I'll listen to you. I won't fear you. I'll walk beside you. That is real power. Not silence, not absence, but harmony within chaos. Grace inside the storm. And now, say goodbye to the old version of you. Not in anger, not in shame, but with honor. That version of you tried, survived, adapted. It was a necessary chapter, but it is no longer the whole book. You are more than your wounds, more than your doubts. You are the architect of your own freedom. Turn off this video. Yes, turn it off. But when you do, let it be with intention. Let this not be just another moment of temporary motivation. Let it mark a turning point, a declaration that from this point on, you will no longer live in fear of your own mind. That when the screen goes dark, something inside you lights up, and maybe, just maybe, you'll begin to walk forward for the first time in years without the crushing weight of your inner war dragging behind you. And always remember, true victory doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It makes no sound. It is felt, quietly and deeply, in the stillness of a soul that no longer needs to fight to be at peace. I'll see you in the next video, or maybe I won't. Because if you truly do this work, if you really awaken, you'll be too busy living to look back.